Hi there, today's lesson is all about aldehydes and ketones. I'm grouping these two families together simply because they contain the same functional group. So we are going to learn two families in this video, but they are very similar. We're going to start with aldehydes. Aldehydes contain the functional group carbonyl, or carbonyl as some people pronounce it, bonded to at least one hydrogen. So what does that mean? It means that C double bond O is always going to be found at the end of the chain. So notice how we only have one R group on an aldehyde. It must have a hydrogen bonded to that same carbon. Okay, so that's the general form. Again, where R is the carbon chain. And then when we're naming them, we're going to change the end to an Al, which is going to indicate the aldehyde. So if it has a C double bond O at the end of the chain, it's going to be the root for the number of carbons in the chain, and then we're going to leave that An because it's going to be single bonded for us, and we're going to add that end Al instead of the E. Now be careful you're not putting an Ol, remembering that an Ol at the end of the name meant alcohol. So it's not an Ol we're looking for this time, it's an Al to indicate an aldehyde. Aldehydes get their name from their parent alkane chains, just like I said. So we're going to count the number of carbons in the chain, and we're going to put the ending as an Al. Now, important to note, there are no numbers in the name of an aldehyde. And I don't need any numbers because the number 1 location is always going to be the end of the molecule that contains that C double bond O. Okay, so let's try a few. Again, we're starting with finding the number of carbons in my main chain. So here I've got 1, 2, 3 carbons in my main chain, and we remember that the name of a 3-carbon chain is prop. So I've got prop, and again I'm leaving that An because they're all single bonded. And there I see that I have that C double bond O group. So when I have that C double bond O group, I know that I need to change the ending to Al. So that's propanol. Moving over to the right, I've got a carbon chain of 2. So a 2-carbon chain is eth. So again, the An, because they're single bonded, and I'm going to add the ending Al again because there's my C double bond O at the end of the chain in both of these cases. So that's indicating that it's an aldehyde. Now all of the ones on this screen are aldehydes, but it won't always be that way. So that's kind of your clue, is you're looking for that C double bond O at the end of the chain to tell you that that's an aldehyde. Here I've only got a 1-carbon chain. So 1-carbon chain is meth. So I've got methanol. And here, if we count the carbons here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice when we're drawing a line structure like this, the carbon is here, and then I've indicated what's bonded to that carbon to make it easy to identify that functional group. So 6-carbon chain is hex, so it's hexanol. And again, no numbers in any of these names because the C double bond O has to be at the end of the chain. Okay, so let's talk about some of the properties of aldehydes. Remembering that that C double bond O is creating that negative charge because oxygen is more electronegative than carbon, and that positive charge on the chain. Because it's actually at the end of the molecule, it gives us a more polar end than if it was in the middle of the chain. So when we say moderately polar, it's not as polar as those alcohols we talked about because they had the OH group, but it is definitely more polar than the ether family, and more polar than the alkanes and alkenes and alkynes. So it does, that polar carbonyl group allows it to be a little bit polar. So that means it has higher boiling and melting points than haloalkanes, ethers, but lower than alcohols. So again, that was my most polar family we've done so far. Other than the hydrocarbons, ethers were the least polar family that we've looked at. So we're kind of, as we move along, ranking these in terms of their polarity and their boiling points and melting points. Because I do have that polar group, that makes it soluble in water. But because those carbon chains also make it, that's a sort of a non-polar half, and it's not a really polar group, it allows it to be soluble in non-polar solvents like hexanes and oils as well. Now, talking about hydrogen bonding. Because it's got that C double bond O, it cannot hydrogen bond to itself. So remembering hydrogen bonding allowed those boiling points to be super high because it made it really, really polar. That C double bond O does not allow for hydrogen bonding to other molecules of the aldehyde, but it does allow it to create those dipole-dipole attractions with water. So that's kind of where that moderately polar comes from. It's kind of in between something that has the hydrogen bonding with itself and something that is not able to create those bonds at all. Okay, let's talk about some interesting facts of aldehydes and where do we find them. So the simplest one, methanol, which is the one we drew on the other page, is otherwise known as formaldehyde. Okay, so formaldehyde used to be used to preserve dead bodies and things. No longer is it used for that, but we do still find it in glues. It's in pressure-treated lumber, which is why you're not supposed to burn it or else it releases formaldehyde. We can also find it in some disinfectants. So really important to note, those small aldehydes, those little molecules, have unpleasant odors. So we can use it kind of like you can smell it in like pest control and things like that, like Raid. Large aldehydes have flowery and nice odors that we often find in things like perfumes. Important to note that aldehydes can be extracted from plants. So these are natural molecules, what we call volatile molecules, because they can evaporate readily, and it leads us to having these different smells, okay, because they're evaporating into the air. Now, if we take a look at ketones, we're actually taking a look at the exact same functional group. So here I have the same carbonyl group, the C double bond O, only this time it's now in the middle of a chain. So it's not hanging on the end of a molecule. So I do need a number now with the names of these ones, and I'm going to change the ending to an ONE, which is going to remind you that that is a ketone. So a ketone has that C double bond O somewhere in the middle of the chain. Again, we're using the same roots that we've been using for the name for a good month now. So we're naming them the same as we were for alkanes and alkenes, only the name is going to end in ONE. We're going to number the chain so that the carbonyl group has the lowest number. So start numbering closest to that C double bond O. And just down at the bottom here, it's important to note that propanone is you cannot put that C double bond O on any other carbon other than the middle one in propanone. So that means that you don't need a number prefix. So just an important to note when you're having the 3 carbons here and it's a ketone, we never actually have to put the prefix. Okay, because if we didn't put it on the middle carbon, it would turn into an aldehyde because then it's on the either end. Okay, so, and important to note, propanone is the smallest ketone you can ever have. I can't have a methanone or an ethanone because there's no middle C in that case. They would become aldehydes. Okay, so taking a look at these structures here, let's see if we can give them a name. So again, there's the one that I was talking about. So there's our 3 carbons. It's just kind of a thing you have to remember that this one gets no number. So this is prop, and I'm going to leave the AN because it's single bonded, and I'm going to add the ONE. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons. So I know in 4 carbons it's bute, And I'm going to add the ONE because, again, the structure I'm looking at is that carbonyl group. What carbon is that carbonyl group at? Well, I have to start closest to the end that it's there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that this is going to be 2-butanone. Okay? Looking down at the bottom here, again, count your carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 carbon chain is pent. Again, I'm still looking at that C double bond O group. So now what carbon is it on? It's actually on carbon number 2 again, so it's 2-pentanone. Trying this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So I'm looking at a pentanone again, but this time the number is going to change. It's now on carbon number 3. Now, important to note, doesn't matter what side I start at. If I start at the left side and I go to the right, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I start at the right side and I go left, guess what? It's still on carbon number 3. So it doesn't matter what side I use, it's always 3-pentanone. Now, what's the difference between 2-pentanone and 3-pentanone? Remembering that they are isomers of one another. They have the exact same chemical formula, but they just have a different position, different structure for that C double bond O. So different properties as well. Okay, so the properties of ketones, again, I'm going to compare them a lot to aldehydes. We're looking at the same functional group in both of those families. So once again, they are moderately polar, but less than aldehydes. Because that C double bond O was hanging off the end of the group for an aldehyde. So there's our aldehyde. And this time I've got that C double bond O in the middle of the carbon chain. So this one is much more polar than this one. This one is less polar because it's still at the middle of the chain. So it doesn't give it that negative end that an aldehyde does. So again, boiling points, just like I said for aldehydes, we've got moderate boiling points. So they're less than alcohols, but more than the other families so far. So less than alcohols and aldehydes, a little bit more than everybody else so far. Again, for the same reasons as aldehydes, they are partially soluble in water, but also soluble in nonpolar, so they kind of do both. And again, they do not hydrogen bond to themselves, so it's not a super strong intermolecular force, but they do allow those bonds to water, which makes it more soluble than some of the other families we've talked about. All right, so why do I care? Pheromones are actually ketones, and they're used to attract a mate. So insects use pheromones. I've also attached a video to your lessons that talks about plants and their pheromones and how they communicate with one another. So that's a good point in, we also use that to our advantage when we're dealing with pest control as well. So we can get these ketones that are attractive molecules to other insects, or actually ones that will repel them because they smell a different insect's pheromone there and they won't come near. One you're probably really familiar with is acetone. So again, that "one" ending for a ketone is a nail polish remover, and the molecule there is propanone. Steroids are also ketones, so progesterone, testosterone, cortisone. Again, all with those ONE endings mean that they are ketones. Again, they're not simple ketones like the ones we've been naming, but they definitely are ketones. And you will see that in the video that I have attached to the lesson as well on steroids and doping, and how we learn as chemists to detect whether an athlete has been doping or not by testing for these ketones. Okay, and here's the practice that I've left you, so please give it a try. Name each of the compounds, try and decide whether they're an aldehyde or a ketone, and then draw the few molecules that I've given you there.